What's up, podcast listeners?
What's up, Casselberry?
There it is. We're bringing it back. Andy and I are so excited to have you. Can you tell in our voices dripping with anticipation? This is a great episode, action-packed today. Episode 19, Andy.
I know. You may be dripping in anticipation, but it's pretty humid, and I hope I'm not dripping in sweat. But I am super excited, as you say, about the guests that we have today. I think it's going to be a whirlwind conversation, and I'm looking forward to learning from these guys.
Me too. Well, folks, we hope you are excited as we are. In case you were just tuning in for the first time, this is called the What's Up Casselberry podcast. Andy Searles and I are Casselberry residents, local pastors, dear friends who desire to have a casual conversation on the podcast every single Tuesday for your good. And like Andy said, we're trying to learn some stuff. We're trying to highlight some things that are happening in the community. Producer Robin is keeping us on track. We've got to move and groove today. And we're so glad you're tuning in to this conversation. So as of this recording, Andy, we are in person. We interviewed live. It's phase 2 of the state of Florida, kind of in regards to COVID. And we're back. So what does that mean?
It just means we're slowly coming back. Of course, it's so strange and such a difficult time. And, as we kind of move out of COVID, we've kind of moved into this other crisis within our nation. And I know, like me, your heart has been broken. And, in some ways, I'll admit, for me, the COVID situation has taken kind of a back seat as we've been addressing some other difficult, serious issues regarding race in our country and injustices. It's a strange time, but I am glad to be with you and Robin and with our guests, and it's good to see your faces like in 3D right now.
It's funny you say that. It feels like 2020 has been about 20 years long, and we're only halfway through. The good news is, though, as you said, because we can see each other, because we're in person, it can only go up from here, right? And it should certainly, we're better together, as you always say.
Yeah. Does it feel long for you, Drew?
It's felt long until this past month. Today, as of this recording, our son Jalen is 1 month old. So yeah, the past month has been a whirlwind, that's for sure.
Yeah, it's funny for me. Someone says, "Oh, it's June now." I'm like, "June? What are you talking about? I haven't done anything this year yet," and it kind of feels like February. So, yeah, who knows? But,
who knows? Well, Andy, instead of we're going a little bit out of order today. You kind of highlighted what's going on in our country. We're going to address that in depth in our listener question. Normally, folks, we have a Casselberry in the news segment. Whether it's something Andy and I have read, we've received a Google alert, some other form of communication, maybe on social media. But in light of our wonderful conversation with our 2 special guests that we'll talk about in a few minutes, we are going to skip over that section and instead jump right into our listener question. Our listener question, Andy, is the time each episode where we want to hear from you. We like to hear from our audience. Of course, this is why we're doing this podcast. It's for your benefit, for your good. So reach out to us. Let us know that you've listened. Give us some feedback. Give us a review. Ask us a question. And you can do that through a multitude of platforms. You can find us on our podcast feed, our Facebook page, our Instagram feed, all with the name What's Up Casselberry. And you can also go to our website, which is still relatively new. I have loved the interaction. I know many of my friends personally have been listening to our podcast on our website, which the website's title is www.whatsupcasselberry.org. And is it org or com? No, it's .com. I apologize. whatsupcasselberry.com. And you can find out a little bit about Andy and myself. You can find out about our sponsors, about the history of the podcast, and you can find all of our previous episodes there. So that's how you tune in and check in. I'm going to read today's question, Andy, and then I want to hear your
Yeah.
response.
Yeah.
So the question is this: what are you guys and your churches, as obviously this person knows we are pastors of local churches, what are you doing in response to all that is going on with the protesting, gatherings, etc., following the death of George Floyd? And that is a question with lots of sharp edges potentially, but we are thankful that this is a very relevant question to the days in which we live in. So, Andy, what are we doing?
Yeah. Well, first of all, Drew, I want to speak with a heavy heart. As white guys, I realize there is so much we don't understand. Yet I'm learning to enter into the pain of my African American, people of color, brothers and sisters. Um, and just to say as well, as people, as Christians, as humans, we denounce racism in any form. We acknowledge it as evil. We say it's got no place in a healthy society. And I know you and I have spoken about this. We want to do our part to treat one another with great love and great grace and great equity and equality as well. So having kind of said that, our church, we've been talking about it. We have some African American members that we're giving more voice to. You and I have been working on a prayer and peace walk for our city and our community, just so that we can stand together and offer a visible sign that we as a community don't have any time or any room for racism within us. Well, what about you, Drew?
Yeah, that's great, and obviously speak similar sentiments. It is a difficult time, no doubt, and I think one of the reasons that it is difficult is that there is a new kind of fresh wound that has been there. The wound is not new, but the wound has been reopened, and I am actually very thankful that folks are bringing to light some of the ways in which our country, despite having made some really positive gains, there's still much work to be done. But specifically from our end in answering this question and kind of the lens that Willow Creek has is that this is a matter of the heart of God. That God cares and calls us to demonstrate justice and to show mercy and to be kind to all peoples, as you said, even peoples that look and maybe live differently than you do. And so, to that end, our church has been speaking to this issue during our morning times of prayer. We are participating in this community prayer walk. We are encouraging all of our members to read a book, which I'll reference here for the podcast listeners. Our church members are encouraged to read the book. It's titled One Blood, and it's written by an African American minister in our denomination named John M. Perkins. And Pastor Perkins wrote this book with the concept that as believers of the same faith, as followers of Jesus, we have unity regardless of culturally what we look like and do and live. In Jesus, we have unity. And so that is the driving factor that pulls us together. And so that is really our goal, is that we would move towards people. We would move towards them in conversation. We would move towards them in prayer and move towards them in listening. And I think that is probably the number one goal, is to be people that are quick to listen. It's funny, we're doing a podcast where you and I are doing a lot of the talking, but even in the next weeks and months, we're hopeful to have different guests. We're hopeful to have articles and news topics that will allow other voices than our own even to share about this and other touchy topics, because it's for the good.
Yeah, I think well said, Drew. One of the postures that I'm putting myself in is I want to listen and I want to understand. And I think in this time, we need to humble ourselves. We need to listen, and we need to seek to understand, realizing that often unintentionally we've caused a lot of harm because we failed to do that. So I'm so thrilled to hear you say that. I mean, I know your heart, so it doesn't surprise me. But we're here to listen, support, and as we've said often, we want to be a bridge in this community, and that bridge goes in lots of different directions.
Well said. Good analogy there. Thank you so much, listener, for your question. And we'd love to hear from other listeners next week as well. That was a great question. Let's now take a break, and we'll be back with our guest. Today's sponsor is Kelly Financial Solutions. Kelly Financial Solutions with Travis Kelly, who was a recent podcast guest. You can go back and listen to that episode at our website, whatsupcasselberry.com. Kelly Financial Solutions was launched in 2017 with a mission of connecting clients with the best possible home loan options. Travis and his team are about helping people with mortgages, helping people with their individual housing needs. And as Travis mentioned on our podcast, he's very diverse and very has plans on speaking to wherever you are. If you're a first-time home buyer, if you are looking to purchase a bigger home, if you're looking to move areas, looking to rent versus buy comparison, Travis will discuss it all with you. So check Travis and his team, Kelly Financial Solutions, out at their website. Their website is www.wearecleartoclose.com. That's wearecleartoclose.com. Welcome back, podcast listeners. We are so excited to have, for the very first time in this podcast history, two guests at the same time. Welcome, podcast listeners and friends, to our guests, City Manager Randy Newlon and City Commissioner Bill Hufford. Gents, thanks for being on the program today.
Glad to be back.
Thank you for having us. Excited.
This is really a test of our abilities to host it too, because not only, as we said earlier, are we without producer Robbing, but we're trying to get four voices on two mics. So listeners, we're sorry if the sound quality isn't as it should be. But Bill, you've been with us before, and we're thrilled that you've come back. You must have liked us the first time, Drew, which is a good thing for us.
You can't get too much of this. This is just too good. So with you guys.
And we would encourage folks to listen to your episode a few back. You can find it on our website. But we're thrilled that Randy Newlon, our city manager, is here as part of our panel that's having this conversation today. Many of you may not know Randy. Randy is one of the hidden heroes in our city. He's not in front of people, as our commissioners often are, but he is silently working diligently with a great weight on his shoulders on behalf of us and our city. So, Randy, we're delighted that you're here. Tell us a little bit about yourself, how long you've been in the city, and what your role as city manager looks like.
Well, thank you, Andy. You're very kind. I'm the city manager. I've been with the city since 2002, but I wasn't always the city manager. I joined Casselberry as an accountant on the finance department staff, and things worked well, and I was able to advance within the city and became the accounting manager and later the finance director. And then at a point, the city was looking to move in a new direction and hire a new city manager, and they needed someone from staff to act as the city manager, and I was selected, but then it kind of stuck. So I've been city manager since 2012 and just finishing 8 years.
Yeah. And we hear the original kind of push to be the city manager came from our very own Bill's wife, Colleen, right? Is that correct?
That is correct.
She made a wise choice.
We had, it's possible to go outside and bring in hired city managers on just a contract basis, just for the interim. But this time, the commission wanted to go in-house, and it was quite a surprise.
Well, and two things to that I think are important. One is that we do, as a city, want to hire promote from within where we can, where it's possible, make sure, as long as they're qualified to do that. The second thing is, with his finance background, most cities or even governmental officials will tell you finances are critical. We need to have a good budgeting process. We need to have a handle on our revenues and our expenses in a day like today, where it's really challenging, knowing that Randy's at the home looking at every penny that's being spent is very comforting, and it makes our job, frankly, makes our jobs easier. Because ultimately we're accountable to the citizens, so how we spend those dollars and how do we collect those dollars. So having him in that position is very helpful for us.
Beautiful. And the two of you obviously work very close together. Randy, could you explain to the listeners and to me in a minute or so, what is the role or the actual day-to-day work of the city manager, and how do you work within kind of the government structure of Casselberry to make us run smooth?
That was 1 minute, Drew, right?
Timing you.
The city of Casselberry and all the cities in Seminole County, they're generally smaller cities, and we have a city manager, city commission form of government. And this is a chartered government that contrasts with a strong mayor form of government like most people might associate, like City of Orlando or New York or something like that. In a city manager, city commission form of government, each commissioner has equal voice, and they hire and delegate to an administrator, which is me, a city manager, to execute their direction, their policy direction. So I have the delegated authority to make things happen to a degree. And so what I have to do is I'm the chief administrator, and I am the one who hires and works through a whole diverse cast of staff members and managers, wonderfully talented people, diverse specialties, experts in all different fields. I am so happy with all the staff I have and the support I get, but it's my job to try to orchestrate all those folks and keep the city moving in the direction that the commissioners guide. So as Bill mentioned, it has been really helpful for me to understand the sources of money and the uses of money and try to define or really refine and communicate to the commissioners what is possible and what may not be possible and when might it be possible. And so anyway, we've been able to work very well together as a team, and I have to work with the commissioners very closely and get to know them and know their particular preferences. And
it's almost like you're the conductor of a symphony.
It's a lot like that.
It plays well. What are some of the things that bring you joy, Randy, in your role as city manager?
Joy.
Other than working with Bill.
Of course.
I mean, that's a given.
Start there and then go.
It goes without saying.
Well, I was about to go there, but I guess I'd say there are different things. I love working through my staff, and they just make me so proud, and that always warms my heart. Things that bring me joy, sometimes we'll take on challenges that we're not really sure how they're going to work out. They're very complex, may take years to unwind, and when they actually come through to fruition and success, that's elation. And then sometimes we're called upon to do things for the community that may not be part of our normal day-to-day, what we're good at, what we know how to do.
Yeah.
But sometimes we can step in and play a role and make a difference and actually make some people, really happy, genuinely happy. Yeah. And that is a joyful thing.
Yeah. I think as a citizen or citizens of the city, I think we would thank you for some of the benefits that we enjoy as homeowners because of all the labor that you and your team put together. Yeah.
Well, we appreciate it, but it all begins with the commission.
Yeah.
So they set us on a path, and sometimes that path just takes years. You see us working, and it looks like not a lot of activities going on. But what a lot of people don't realize is that a lot of what we do are based on master plans that were developed and approved by our commissioners years ago, and we're just trying to keep the plan going and make it work.
Which is a great segue to a master plan that was recently developed in the last few years, and that is moving forward right now. I forget the dates. This year just kind of blurs together. I know it was pre-COVID.
Yeah, early 2020, we'll say, because you're right. It does feel like this.
We had an election in Casselberry where the citizens voted overwhelmingly to approve a parks referendum. Again, a master plan, a long-term vision. Tell us, what does it mean for the city that our citizens supported that with such strength and support?
It's a fantastic opportunity for the city. Casselberry is one of the smallest cities in Seminole County, and we have the second largest tax base, for example. And so we are called upon every day to overperform with what we have to work with. And enhancing our parks is not something we've been able to really make the priority we wish it could be. And we know the residents enjoy our parks a lot, but compared to some of the other municipalities, both in Seminole County and outside, we're losing ground. And so with this authorization from the voters that I don't think anyone was sure how it was going to turn out, we will be able to leap ahead and invest $25 million into 5 of our major parks and actually build a brand new one from scratch, a whole new concept. And we'll be excited to be working on that for the next 5 years.
That's fantastic. And I think we were saying, Bill, right, that it could have gone either way, the vote. But was it by a 2/3 majority?
Right. Yeah, 68%.
And then I think, Randy, you mentioned at another time that you wanted to check those figures to make absolutely sure this is what the voters wanted, and you're in that process as well. So,
exactly. Well, what that means is we've gone through a process that's governed by law, and before we rely on the results of that election, we are asking our attorneys to go back to the courts and essentially vet the outcome. Challenge it ourselves, and have the judge review what happened and certify that the elections, again, were valid, and then we can move on. And so that's the process we're in now.
Yeah. And I love the integrity of the city to do that. We want to hear from the citizens, but then we want to check that we heard from the citizens
did it right
correctly and did it right. I mean, kudos to you for that level of accountability.
Yeah, Andy, before we I recall, Bill was one of our earliest guests on our podcast. And Bill was actually speaking on behalf of the referendum. We had not voted yet at the time. Yeah. So, Bill, what are your thoughts just in terms of where we are and where we are going in regards to the parks?
Well, obviously, my greatest fear is anytime you're asking the citizens to take on more of a burden, if you will, in terms of paying for that, that could go anywhere. And so I was very surprised. Well, I guess certainly very pleased and somewhat surprised that it overwhelmingly passed, which to me is saying that they have a lot of confidence. First of all, it's something that they want. That says these are the parks, and there's a wide variety there to select from. Then secondly, they have the confidence that we will do it right, that we will use that money and spend it wisely. There's nothing worse than writing a check for $24 million and you give it to somebody that has no idea what they're going to do with it. And they can go everywhere and anywhere.
Hey, give it to me, I'll try and figure it out.
There you go. You're a prime example of what I'm saying. So to me, it's also a vote of confidence that the city's we're going to do this thing right. And by no means is it over. Now we're going to go through really with a fine-tooth comb every park as it comes before us and start looking at much more detail based on what we approved earlier.
Do we have a general sort of timeline? I know that listeners are eager to kind of hear that.
And those asking the questions.
We
have an idea. It'll be formalized with the budget that we're going to bring to the commission for consideration for 2021. That's a process we're getting into right now. But with this authorization, the first thing we have to do is take the concept plans that we have for each one of those parks, which in themselves are very detailed and have gone through a public process already with much input from the community. And so these detailed concept plans are going to be referred out to our architects and engineers, and we're going to get those plans converted into a real buildable construction plans. So that's the first thing we're going to do. So we'll get all 6 parks referred out for planning immediately. And with that information, we'll know partly if the estimates of costs that we've been relying on are really reliable or not. And if so, we'll be at a point where we can reconsider those plans at a 30% stage and consider if something can be added, or really more likely if something needs to be scaled back because we may not be heading to what we thought we could afford. But we'll know then. Yeah. But then we'll take it by order. The City Commission has already set a kind of priority list in order for us to follow. And it begins with Secret Lake Park. And that's something we hope to put to construction in 2021. And then we move on to Lake Concord Park with a big art house expansion there. We go to
Wers Park, I think.
Wers Park is next, and our park at Wers Park has a small pool that our rec manager calls a bathtub, and some Little League fields, and we're going to take it and completely transform it into a really major aquatic center. And multi-purpose fields, and it'll be extraordinary.
That's exciting. We don't have anything like that currently. That's
I've been going for long walks in the morning during this lockdown period, and I was walking by around Wers Park the other day, and Randy, I don't know if you know this, but there is an alligator head floating in the pool, and I saw it early in the morning.
Not a real one.
And it scared the bejeebies out of me.
Real.
And I went up close, and it's just this head that's floating around to apparently scare the ducks. I thought, what a great idea. Now I know what it is. But it was
like you.
You have to keep a sense of humor when you work for local government. There's a lot of absurd things that we run into.
Yeah. Well, I love that we're investing in our parks, and especially now as we're dealing nationally, this backdrop of racial inequality and injustice. One of the great assets of a park is for a city is to create places where people of different cultures and backgrounds can come together and hang out. And these shared spaces are so important. And part of me, Randy, thinks I wish we could kind of go to Walmart and buy a park, but I know it doesn't work like that. And there's a long process, and I appreciate that you guys are working that.
Well, thank you. We think we'll get through it by 2025. At least have everything,
Wow.
Ground broken anyway.
Yeah. I mean, it's incredible because in the grand scheme of things, 5 years is nothing as well.
If anybody has any interest in the subject and didn't see it before the election, we still have a website up called goparks2020.org. And there's still a lot of information there about the parks and their concept plans and renderings and things that you folks would like to learn about.
So it's goparks2020.org.
Yes.
Perfect. Yeah, thank you for sharing that. That's very important. I know before the election we were promoting that. So yeah, please check it out and see updates as they come. But as you hear from the city manager himself, 2021, more conversations happening, some action being taken place too. That's great.
We've probably got about 5 minutes left on this episode, and the great news is that Randy and Bill are coming back next week to share with us some more insight into how the city works. But just quickly from both of you, what are one or two of the biggest opportunities that are facing our city before our city in the next few years?
Well, it depends how you frame opportunity.
Everything's an opportunity, Bill.
That's correct. It can be a challenge or it can be exciting. I think right now with the amount of uncertainty that's out there, one of the challenges we have is how do we create a realistic budget so that there's no adverse impact to staffing, that there's no adverse impact to the citizens. So what's realistic, and again, this is where Randy comes in, just so helpful, is that he knows the details. And so we could look at something. We're still waiting to hear all that's coming in because we have sales tax issue things, we have franchise tax. Those kinds of things are still, we haven't heard the latest.
Yeah.
So that comes from Tallahassee, and so he's projecting in terms of what do we think that's going to look like? And then secondly, how quickly will it recover? So I think heard today, in fact, that Disney's beginning to start bringing people back, and of course I have the pleasure of having airplanes fly over my house. I'm thinking, well, that's picking up. You can hear them flying in, and so you can see there is an increasing in economic activity that translates into additional revenues for us.
I think people often think that, hey, you're a city, you're a government organization, you just print money. But of course, that's not true. The income streams for our city are from tax dollars. And so if people aren't spending money and businesses are going out of it, the city isn't getting an income.
That's right.
Yeah. It's a challenge. And so as Commissioner Hufford mentioned, part of budgeting is to make sure we're on a sustainable path, not just 1 year, but many years. And that's something we have to test and satisfy our commissioners that we're doing. Yeah. And they hold us accountable for it.
Yeah, and we've built in pause places, if you will. So a lot of things we do are like projects that have multiple phases. So we'll ask the question, when we get phase one, whatever that might be, can we put it on pause if we have to, because there's not revenues are coming in, so we can't. So when we commit to something, we want to make sure our preference obviously is to finish it.
Right.
But there's design phase, various construction phases, things like that we can say, all right, let's stop here.
Right.
Let's take a test. How are we doing? And revenue's coming or not? And if we can, let's move forward. So we have several things, police stations, some others that we want to move forward on.
Yeah. But you mentioned opportunities, and so some of those opportunities include we have to build a new police station. Public Works Complex is being planned right now to do. But what we'd like to do, I think, is the commission has set a path and adopted a complete street policy that is intended to transform the city into the most walkable, bikeable, safest city to move around in. And so that takes resources, and we've been moving in that direction. You'll see wide sidewalks and tree canopy being added and roads being reconstructed. But one of the challenges that would follow would be eventually in 2025, the penny sales tax, infrastructure surtax that everybody pays, that actually feeds that kind of work. And we're hoping that there's an opportunity to renew that sales tax for a fourth generation that would take us all the way to 2035. And it would be just more investment into the city.
Yeah. So that's not a new tax; it'll just be an add-on
renewal one. Yeah. Well, I think this is an exciting time to be part of Casselberry. We've got new development, new parks investment. Good things are happening at the school. New police station, safer walkways. I mean, this is an exciting time.
New business opportunities.
Yeah. Exciting time to be part of the city with some great vision ahead. But what I appreciate about you both is that you're not just men of great vision, you're also men of great stewardship, right? And so we're going to get where we need to go in smart, wise ways. And I thank you both that you're focused just on realistic vision. Anyone can have a vision, right, Drew? But realistic vision is a difficult leadership tension, and you guys are managing it.
You're very kind. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you both. Well, we do have to wrap up now, but the good news is you're coming back next week, and we're grateful for that, and we've got some more questions there. But let me just say at the end of this first conversation, thank you both so much for being with us today, and thank you as well for the numerous ways that you lead our city with vision and with accountability. As citizens, Drew and I love that and appreciate that.
Thank you.
So thank you both.
Thank you, man.
Great.
Thank you.
Wow, Drew, sometimes I wish that we had like 2 hours on the podcast, drinking from the deep well, and the knowledge of those guys was fascinating to me. I cannot wait to have them back in the studio next week to dig a little bit deeper, but what a conversation. However, after their information, Drew, you're going to offer us some inspiration today.
That's right, Andy. I've got some big shoes to fill following those guys, but
you can feel their shoes too. I mean, that's weird, but they'll be here next week.
I'm going to do my best. Here's our inspirational quote: "Act justly, love mercy, walk humbly." That's originally from Micah the prophet in the Bible. It's also from Martin Luther King Jr., who was speaking to the larger community to demonstrate justice. So let me read the quote again. Act justly, love mercy, and walk humbly. And if you really think through each of those, they correspond together. We don't demonstrate justice or don't seek justice if we don't pursue love. We can't show mercy to someone if we simply think we are better than them. So being humble, demonstrating and loving mercy, and seeking to show justice to those who have been treated unjustly. Those are big words. Those are high goals, but our encouragement is start somewhere. Start today. Perhaps even what Andy said earlier in our conversation, to listen, to take some time and move towards someone and listen. That's an example of showing mercy and walking humbly.
Thank you, Drew. Those are time-tested words that everybody in humanity would do well to understand. Friends, we hope you've enjoyed this episode of What's Up Casselberry, the podcast, a casual conversation about our community. And today we've heard from some of our community leaders. This podcast is produced by Robin Kepke and James Bittner. The music is provided by Jeremy Birdsell and the graphics by Christian Moscoso. For more information, we would point you to our website at www.whatsupcastleberry.com. You can also check out our Facebook page, Instagram feed, podcast feed. We'd love to hear from you, and you can connect with us there. They're all at What's Up Casselberry. Please like and subscribe, and do us a favor, let your neighbor know that you're listening to our podcast as well. Until next time, have a great week, friends.